Hey guys, Bicebump here. We got some Frost buffs. As always, let's take a look at what they are, how impactful they are, and what they're going to change when it comes to gameplay and talent builds. Got them right up here, quite a couple of them, actually include some nerfs, but let's just go through them all and talk about what they mean. So, Abarush, the Shadow Crucible 2-set piece, so this is tier set from the old raid. Damage of your next Frostworm increased by 4%, was 5% per stack. The effectiveness of Frost and Fury reduced to 25%. That was 30%, so that's the one you get from the actual pillar. Howling Blast damage reduced to 10%, was 20%, so that's the buff on the Howling Blast. So generally, heavy nerfs on the old 2-set. For the Amir Drasil, so the current one, we have a 4-piece set buff. So Chill Streak now bounces 3 additional times, was 2 times. And the chance to proc a bonus effect is now 35%, up from 30%. So, a nerf to the old 2-piece, a buff to the new 4 set. This is so we don't have to run 2-piece in Mythic Plus, which was currently the kind of go-to play. The old tier piece was simply really powerful in AoE. The new 4-piece wasn't that strong, so running 2-piece from the old, 2-piece from the new was the best setup. This will remove that combination, so we just now want to run the new 4 set, which is good in my opinion. You don't want to have to run the old tier set, even though it's easy to obtain. You could just kind of upgrade and catalyze them with an old catalyst. We still don't want to run old tier pieces at much lower item level, so great change. We have also some raw buffs there. Chill Streak damage increased by 10%, Obliterate damage increased by 8%. Mate, that is a big buff to Obliterate, because just like in the Obliteration builds, that's like half our damage coming from Obliterate, so that's like a 4% buff just from that single change there, which is pretty hype. And we have Enduring Chill, chance to bounce increased to 25%, was 20%, so this is essentially every time Chill Streak bounces, it has a probability to add 1 bounce to the total. So if you've done the math, you will know that previously that averaged out to 25% more casts, but we increased that to 25% per jump. We now got 33% more casts of bounces. So if it's 10, we add 3.3 bounces. So a buff to that talent. Furthermore, Piercing Chill damage increased to 12%, was 10%. Alright, so these changes, they do but 2 things. One, just buffing Obliterate just means that the Obliteration build gets buffed significantly. Breath as well, but Obliteration loves this, so that's one thing. All these Chill Streak buffs means that the button is more impactful, and those 2 talents that kind of interact with it also get buffed and are now actually possible to pick up. So this is going to have quite a lot of effects on our talent builds, which will change significantly. We're now always going to want to pick up Enduring Chill. That's a really powerful talent now. As I said, it now adds 33% more bounces. And that ends up, so we start out at, hang on, I need to refresh my memory here, exactly how many bounces you start out at. So we get, by default, 9 bounces. We now add 3 via the tier set, so we go up to 12, and then by Enduring Chill we add 33% more, so that is 16 bounces, right? That's where we're going to be sitting. Having that many bounces obviously is good for the damage, but importantly it also means that the buff we get from the 2 set is also much longer. It takes a while for Chill to kind of bounce back and forth. You notice this especially on like Volcaros, it takes ages for it to bounce. So having more bounces means that we generally get more buff duration, which is also a very good thing. Fun fact, if you stand further away from your enemies on single target, you actually get a DPS upgrade, because the little snowball takes longer to bounce, you get longer buff duration. Just a fun fact. Anyway, talents will change. I've updated guides, so they now have the correct ones, which essentially means that we pick up Enduring Chill everywhere. How impactful are these then? Like, what are the percentage damage increase numbers we are looking at? Well, they are surprisingly large. All right. For single target, we have Oblit at 8.2% and Breath at 4.6%. Huge buffs for Oblit specifically. I think this is primarily the fact that Obliterate itself got buffed by 8%, which is a big buff for Obliteration. For Myth+, it's not as strong, so yeah, Oblit got around 4%, Breath got around 3%. Still a nice little buff, you know, it helps us out, but not as significant as the single target numbers. If you now look at Sims, Best Obliteration is equal to Breath when you account for AMS and AMZ soaking, which means that in the scenarios where you can kind of leverage that at the maximum with Breath, it's equal to Obliteration. With the legendary, by the way, Obliteration with the legendary. And when you can't soak AMS and AMZ stuff, Obliteration will be better. We'll see how this translates to reality, but I think these changes will definitely make Obliteration viable. And it's going to be the play on much more bosses, and you can kind of now choose more freely. Still, we'll have like Breath being really good on Vault Cross, for instance, but Obliteration is very likely to be keeping up. So if you don't like Breath, you now have the proper alternative to run Obliteration. To summarize, good buffs, significant buffs. Obliteration getting 8% is huge. We have lots of new talent builds to run now, everything picking up Enduring Chill, and some more kind of talents moving around because of that. Have a look at the guides to see the updated ones. I'm happy about this. I felt like Frost needs this. It's just not a very popular spec. It doesn't bring the right numbers. And essentially in Raid, if you can't keep up Breath, you just can't play Frost. Obliteration is now like a proper alternative, which is great. So very happy about that. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about these buffs. Are they enough? Should we get more? Obviously, we want to rework, but is this a good enough band-aid? Upvote, downvote, consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.